I purchased this ticket. Can you help me understand why?
We're going to discuss this outside. Not here, outside.
Cell phone video of Milwaukee man Kima Hamilton's interaction with Delta last week when other passengers realized he was being kicked off the Milwaukee-bound flight from Atlanta for going to the bathroom.
I need more information, sir. I haven't done anything. I paid for this ticket, and I actually have to get home.
Hamilton told us today the plane was delayed taking off, and he couldn't wait any longer to use the bathroom.
Sometime later, we're still taxied. The plane hadn't moved, and it's at an emergency stage now.
I've seen this happen on planes before. I never heard of someone being removed.
Fellow passenger and lawyer Krista Rosalino was sitting next to Hamilton and started recording because she didn't feel Delta was treating Hamilton like a person.
What did you think of Delta's response on the plane?
The first person they sent on was very rude to him, I thought.
I'm not really clear on why I'm being asked to leave this plane. I purchased this ticket. I had an emergency. I had to pee. I went to tour. I had to pee. I tried to hold it the first time. I came and sat down, and I absolutely couldn't.
And I understand that.
And I'm being kicked off the plane.
It's almost ironic that we don't have the 10 minutes to have this conversation, but we have an hour and a half to stall everyone.
After a second Delta worker talks to Kima for several minutes, Kima decides to leave, and he's greeted by FBI agents who decide not to arrest him.
He said he came to arrest me, but after our conversation, realized that some of the language that was used, that some of the language that was associated with my name wasn't accurate.
Good morning. I saw that story somewhere on YouTube and was quite astonished that something like this could take place in 2017. What's interesting, ironically, these kind of incidents never seem to happen to the LGBT, but black men. It's also interesting how the FBI was called to arrest this man for having a pee, for using the toilet. And the FBI was called. Whether they thought he had the weapon of mass destruction in his pants hidden down there is another thing. But the FBI was called to have a view, a look at his weapon of mass destruction. Now, if you're familiar with social media, what would you do in these fake social experiments where you get these do-gooders who they see a pregnant man and people are going, "Oh, that's disgusting," and then you come along like an angel, "Oh, that's okay, leave him alone." You get these do-gooders. Or you have two Muslims raising a white child, and you get some strange old two lesbians snogging in public, and these social experiments are set up, to get these do-gooders. You get the ones who are attacking it, and the do-gooders to come along, leave them alone. So they create a real freaky stage scene, and obviously people are going to look at that. And then suddenly they come on. "Oh, stop bullying them." That's how liberals promote their filth, by creating social scenes, stage. And in these social experiments, you get all kind of different subjects. Your reaction to gay marriage, your reaction to black men raising white children, although they've never shown that, interesting enough. But you get all kind of experiments. It's a way to promote a rainbow culture, a rainbow world, where people don't attack or have a view on anything. This way of breaking down morals in society, so everything becomes acceptable. Now, what's interesting, these do-gooders had ample opportunity to shine on Delta airplane. They saw that this was a discrimination. They saw that this was obviously racial profiling. And what did they do? They stayed quiet. They had ample opportunity to say this is wrong. This is the proof that race relations, this promotion of LGBT, you gotta be homosexual friendly, you gotta be lesbian friendly. If a tranny gets pregnant, you better keep your mouth shut or they'll put you in jail. You better keep your mouth shut. They promote this agenda. And you, the more people, you can't believe it, you're brainwashed. But it's interesting, when it comes to race, people are quiet. People are quiet. This was the most beautiful moment for blacks and whites to come together. The most beautiful moment for white men and white women to stand up and say this is wrong. But people kept their mouth shut. When it comes to racism, when it comes to racial profiling, nobody gives a damn. Where were all these white liberals that were protesting in Ferguson? Where were all these white liberals that was protesting over with Black Lives Matter? Where are all these white liberals? They were quiet on the aeroplane. These white liberals had every opportunity to shine like an angel. In Britain, there's a company. It's called Angels, and what they do, if your company is in trouble, they come with wings, and what they do, they buy you out and save you. They call themselves angels. They call themselves angels. So what they do, they put their money and buy your company, and that's how they actually help you. They make money from it, but they call themselves angels. These angels had a time to shine. These liberals, they had their time to shine, but you know something? They kept their mouth zipped. They kept their mouth zipped. One lawyer recorded the whole incident, meaning she knew what was happening was wrong. A lawyer knew what was happening was wrong. Okay, to her credit, she recorded it. I'm surprised they never confiscated that video and claimed it was private property because they were recording an aeroplane or for terrorist purposes. They could have come with anything to get rid of that video. But thank God, right? She had that information. She had that evidence. The liberals had plenty of time to shine, the white liberals. Plenty of time. But it took a white conservative lawyer to record the incident. As for the passengers, they were quiet. If you look at the video, the woman, they're looking at this shocked. They know something is wrong, but they were quiet. Now let that be an LGBT, let that be gays, let that be trannies, and there'll be uproar. Wow! Uproar everywhere. The love between blacks and white, the government needs to work on. The LGBT have so much power, so much power. You dare tell them, well, I have a view about what you do. You dare do that. You can't even have freedom of thought or expression to challenge what they do. But they can ill-treat you as a black person. They can discriminate against you as a black person. Never mind think it. More needs to be done to heal the love between blacks and whites. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? I'm saying heal the love between blacks and whites. Because when you can watch your fellow man degraded like that, victimized like that, and you go to bed normally and go to sleep, you know something is wrong. You know something is wrong. When you can victimize your own fellow man like that, you know something is wrong. Society needs to revalue this civil rights thing. Why is it pushed for the benefit of the LGBT, and yet we are still racially profiling? This was no Negro. This is no ghetto black thug. This was a well-spoken, professional black male. If it was a thug, I wouldn't give a damn. If it was a Negro, I wouldn't give a damn. They don't care about me. They call me coon. No, this was a professional black male traveling, and he was victimized, degraded. I want to use a toilet. I want to use a toilet 3 times or twice. Can you imagine? For the whole world, I want to use a toilet. I'm denying you your humanity. You're denying you your male privacy. Turn him into a dog. Turn him into a dog. So I'm not sure whether anybody will boycott Delta, but I'm traveling this year, and I tell you something, that I will not be using Delta. It could happen to me. The same thing could happen to me. There's always a terrorist, say his name, Milakawa. You know, that's the reason FBI was called, because you know the name sounds like a Muslim name. No, that's not a Muslim name. You can tell it's not a Muslim name. More African name. Well, xenophobia settles in and all kind of dizzy spells takes over. Oh, he's a Muslim! Oh, beautiful. Oh, nice coffee. Nothing more beautiful than a nice cup of coffee. You know, sometimes you make coffee, it doesn't taste right, but that's just beautiful. Mmm! Wow! I will not be using Delta. I can't support Delta. You see, in the gay community, there is strength and solidarity. You dare ill-treat a gay person and they will boycott your ass. They'll boycott your ass, but they'll boycott you economically. It's a silly joke, I know, right? They'll boycott you economically. They'll boycott you economically. That's the power. That's the power they've got. They can cripple your business. They can attack your churches, attack your schools. You better make sure you treat them well. The only way black people will be taken seriously, if at all, is when we start to use our money intelligently. By we supporting Delta, we are giving we are an accomplice to their crimes. We are telling them it's okay to treat ourselves like animals. It's all being well moaning and whinging and crying and moaning all over like babies. But as long as you put money into Delta, you're telling them. As long as you use Delta, you're telling them it's okay. Now, me and my partner, who I don't mention much, in fact I don't mention at all, that's my private life. Me and my partner, she and I, we're traveling this year. And I tell you something, I will not be using Delta at all.
Reported by naturallymoi.com. Racist flight attendant almost let man die because she didn't believe black woman was a doctor. Racism strikes again. A flight attendant on a Delta flight almost let a man die because of her own prejudice. Tamika Cross was on a Delta flight when a man started screaming for help. That's when, as an OBGYN from Houston, she rightfully stood up and was going to attempt to help the man before a racist, prejudiced, backwards flight attendant, yes, this is America, believe it, told her to take a seat and that they were calling for, quote, real doctors. And then when Tamika said she was an OBGYN from Houston, the flight attendant had the nerve to ask her why was she in Detroit and where are her credentials. Now, I am paraphrasing. I'll read you the whole post from Tamika that she posted on Facebook below. But the man survived and the flight attendant ended up needing her help, and Tamika gave it to her to save the man's life. But the point is, this is 2016, y'all. Don't these people know that black people go to medical school too and work in the health profession too? Have they never heard of Morehouse Medical School, Morehouse Hospital in DC? Now, you may read this and say, well, how do you know it had to do with race? Because you know some of y'all out there, you know. Well, Tamika said a white man came on the scene after they asked again for any doctors aboard the flight, and that's when the flight attendant looked at her and said, "We have a doctor on site now that has his credentials." With an attitude, of course. But Tamika said the guy never showed the flight attendant any credentials. See, what the flight attendant was really referencing by credentials was his white skin. Let's be completely honest, people. We know how this shit works. She looked at the black woman and thought, you possibly can't be a doctor, especially if Tamika wasn't sitting in first class and looking a certain way, because you know us Americans, we have these beliefs of what people from certain professions look like anyway. I'm going to tell you though, I really think it's astounding that this flight attendant almost let this man die because of her racism, prejudice, and need to be right, rightfully ignorant, that is. Every minute this woman questioned Tamika could have been every minute this man needed to be tended to survive. And this woman didn't even care about the man enough to put her prejudice to the side. If you're on a plane and a person says they're a doctor, wouldn't you let them help this person? You're on a fucking plane, and who knows when you may land. It may be too late for them then. But you rather let your ignorance prevail and let someone else suffer for it. I truly believe there is a high level of narcissism that most racist people possess because this woman, what she did was completely selfish. No way around that. Thank God the other doctor came onto the scene, and thank God Tamika wasn't petty and like most black people do. She put her own feelings aside to help someone in need. This man who Tamika helped save is truly lucky she is not as petty and self-centered as the flight attendant that almost let him die was. Here's Tamika's full post about the situation. She said on Facebook, I'm sure many of my fellow young corporate America working women of color can all understand my frustration when I say I'm sick of being disrespected. Was on a Delta flight DL 945 and someone 2 rows in front of me was screaming for help. Her husband was unresponsive. I naturally jumped into doctor mode as no one else was getting up, unbuckle my seatbelt, and throw my tray table up. And as I'm about to stand up, flight attendant says, everyone stay calm. It's just the night terror. He is all right. I continue to watch the scene closely. A couple minutes later, he is unresponsive again, and the flight attendant yells, call overhead for a physician on board. I raised my hand to grab her attention. She said to me, quote, oh no, sweetie, put your hand down. We are looking for actual physicians or nurses or some type of medical personnel. We don't have time to talk to you. End quote. I tried to inform her that I was a physician, but I was continually cut off by condescending remarks. Then overhead, they paged any physician on board, please press your button. I stare at her as I go to press my button. She said, oh, wow, you're an actual physician, quote. I reply, yes. She said, let me see your credentials. What type of doctor are you? Where do you work? Why were you in Detroit? Please remember, this man is still in need of help and she is blocking my row from even standing up while bombarding me with questions. I respond, quote, OBGYN, work in Houston, in Detroit for a wedding, but believe it or not, they do have doctors in Detroit. Now, excuse me so I can help this man in need. Another, quote, seasoned white male approaches the row and says he is physician as well. She says to me, thanks for your help, but he can help us. He said he has his credentials. Mind you, he hasn't shown anything to her, just showed up and fit the, quote, description of a doctor. I stayed seated, mind blown, blood boiling. Man is responding to his questions and is seemingly better now, thank God. Then this heifer has the nerve to ask for my input on what to do next about 10 minutes later. I tell her we need vitals and blood sugar. She comes back to report to me a BP of 80, 50, super low to my non-medical peeps, and they can't find a glutometer. We continue down that pathway of medical workup, but the point is, she needed my help, and I continued to help despite the choice words I had saved up for her. The patient and his wife weren't the problem. They needed help, and we were mid-flight. She came and apologized to me several times and offered me Sky Miles. I kindly refused. This is going higher than her. I don't want Sky Miles in exchange for blatant discrimination. Whether this was race, age, gender discrimination, it's not right. She will not get away with this, and I will still get my Sky Miles. This is Jen Nicole from naturallymoi.com. Thank you guys for listening.